Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for stopping by. I figured that since tomorrow is Labor Day or you're watching the video on Labor Day, that it would be fitting for me to discuss my transition from the military to civilian workforce. That way, you guys can hopefully pick up some tips and tricks along the way or learn from my mistakes so that when it comes time for you to transition, you can control your chaos. Let's go for a walk. All right, so this period of time starts about 1 year out from my actual retirement date. After all my transition programs, I mentioned before that I attended 3 transition programs. They kind of help you figure out what you want to be when you grow up, because I didn't know. Took a bunch of tests, and all of the tests pointed to sales. So as I mentioned in another video, I started really focusing heavily on being a sales guy. I looked at IT sales because I'm kind of a nerd, and IT sales was where a couple of friends was going as well. And so it just seemed like it made sense. So from about a year out, I actually started interviewing and heavily networking into the sales space. There's a lot of resources out there, but I primarily used LinkedIn and YouTube and found the community that I wanted to be a part of. And I started networking in this community to get all the tips and tricks and everything, and make sure that, I had a plan so that when I got out, it would be an easy transition and I'd be going into a pretty decent job with decent pay, because sales is commission, well, some of it anyway. And so I wanted to make sure that I was getting the right job offers and everything else. So about a year out, I started this process of interviewing and really understanding where I wanted to go, heavily focused on sales. Along the way, again, because I'm still a year out, there's little kind of side quests that happen. Some people reached out about different jobs here and there through the networks that I had. They were, especially through the Honor Foundation network, they always post job opportunities, and some of these little side quests sounded interesting. So I, attempted some of those to kind of see where they went, and they didn't really pan out. So no big deal. I was still focused on sales. So I continue to transition out. I get all my VA claims turned in and everything. Everything's good to go. Job offer is good to go. And I get my first official job after the military, and it's, IT sales. So I get to this company. Again, this is still 2 months before I retire. So I'm kind of double dipping a little bit, which is awesome. Highly recommend, if you have leave, take that opportunity to use that leave and, job hunt. And, if you can start a job during that time, awesome. One thing I wish I would have done was a skill bridge program. I know in the Army we have it. I'm not sure if the other services have it. I think they do. But skill bridge is really good because it's essentially a paid internship. Sometimes it's not, but you can get some paid internship action, and you're working with the company that has a potential to hire you. And that puts you leaps and bounds ahead, vice you just getting out of the military and trying to get a job. I double dip. I'm in my sales job. Everything's going pretty well. I like it. I like the people I'm working with. I'm liking my bosses. Everything's awesome. And then, about 4 or 5 months into it, I realized that it's just not my thing. Well, I thought I was going to like it a lot more than I did. I'll just say that. And so I decided to quit. I left that company. I stayed there probably longer than I needed to. I probably could have quit, the first couple months after getting there, but I wanted to give it a shot. The whole never quit attitude. And so I left that company, and I had a bright idea that I wanted to do IT because it was IT sales. I'm kind of a nerd. I wanted to try the IT thing. So I looked for an IT cyber security school, and I find one, and I get into a program, and I start learning cybersecurity. It's pretty awesome. I really like it. While I'm going through the cybersecurity school, I realized that I'm burning my GI Bill for stuff that I can essentially just look up on YouTube and study. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to get out of this school because I'm just wasting GI Bill at this point. And so I drop out of the program. I continue, I take 3 certification tests, pass them all. Within 2 months period, I had A plus, Security plus, and Network plus. And so, pretty pumped. And so I started applying heavily for IT jobs. I was applying this whole time for IT jobs while I was in the school. What I realized though is if you want to get into cybersecurity, you need to have 3 to 5 years of experience in IT. I started looking at normal IT jobs like help desk and running wires and doing network stuff, because that's essentially, when you do the research, they say most of the cybersecurity guys start out at a help desk and then they kind of work their way up. So I did that for some time, and I kept applying and applying, and I wasn't getting anything. Like nobody was calling me back. And one of my shorts, I mentioned the one guy that shot me straight and was like, "Hey, we usually don't even consider you guys because you're mid-career, and but if you're willing to come here and work for $20 an hour for 2 years, then we can start looking at a management track." And it just wasn't feasible. I have kids and a family, and um, I have a part-time job, which I had picked up after I left the first company. I picked up a part-time job that paid pretty decently, and then I could work around my school hours and everything. Also, I wanted to stay in the workforce. I was like, I can't do this because I'd have to basically take a job working more hours and getting about the same amount of pay as I was from my part-time job, and then but more hours means I have to put kids in daycare, and just it wouldn't have even been worth it. Then I had an epiphany, that part of cybersecurity has business continuity and emergency management. And my job in the military, essentially learned a lot of FEMA stuff and learned a lot of USAID stuff and a lot of emergency management type things. So the light bulb went off that, like, oh man, maybe I need to just focus on emergency management because I have the most experience with that. I can leverage that experience. Then I don't have to start off in a job making $20 an hour. I could start off at a decent salary because I have 20 years of experience in the military. Now I can leverage that experience. So that's the track that I'm on now. I've been applying to emergency management positions. I actually have made a lot of headway for my first big boy job. That's what I'm going to call it, because I consider it a new career, because sales was like a segue. I wanted to try it out. IT was like a segue that would have been cool, but it wasn't the right time or place. I couldn't do it. Emergency management is where I'm at now, heavily focused in it, doing the schoolwork. I'm really liking it. Definitely can see where it lines up with all of my military service and how I can leverage that service to, get into a career. And yeah, so now it's just waiting. It's the waiting game. Some little things that I'll throw out there, some tips. The biggest thing is when you do these programs and you start learning what you want to be when you grow up. If you don't know, if you know what you want to be when you grow up, awesome. Like that's awesome. And if you have, if you have the stars align and you know exactly how you're going to do this, then great. But if you are like me and you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, you need to take some of those tests, the skills tests and things like that, to kind of see what you want to be or what you're good at or something. You need to have a direction and understand, depending on where you're at in life, those things are going to change. So when I was getting out of the military, my mindset was, I'm going to do 10 15 more years of hard work, make a bunch of money, and then just retire and be done. But when at the end of the day, when you're spending 75% of your life at a job, which is what it about equates to, you want to make sure that you like it, right? So I didn't like it, so I had to move on. So yeah, pay attention in those transition programs. Understand, what you want to do, or at least have an idea, and then that way you can focus on those things as you go forward. So the next tip I'll say is, even if you don't plan on going into the government after you get out of the government, open up a USAJobs account, start doing your government resume, just do everything, well in advance. I would say 2 years in advance of you getting out. If you know the time you're getting out, definitely open up USAJobs, start filling out a government resume, and start looking around. you might find something you like. There's all kinds of government positions. I had no idea, I mean, I had an idea, but, I had no idea that it was something that I could do. Like, NOAA is one of them, the national weather thing or whatever. NOAA, the science one. And then you got forestry, you got game and fish. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do for government work that you can add to your retirement, especially if you're not retiring. You get out after 10 years, it might benefit you to go, continue your government service because, you can add to that and get your retirement, because it's federal service at the end of the day. So 10 years in the military, you do another 10, 15 years in the civilian service, and you can retire with some kind of pension. So USA Jobs, start it now. The other thing I'll say about it is USA Jobs is a long process. I attended so many webinars. I attended, resume classes. I talked to people that were in the positions that I wanted to go into. I talked to officials that were hiring managers for other government agencies. And, I picked their brains on how to do the resume, what's the best way and whatever. And it took me a good 6 months to even get my resumes to a point where they made it through the system. So there's an ATS, an applicant tracking system that sorts your resume out with a computer. And if your resume gets chopped up in there, like let's say you have a resume with your picture and these tables and it looks all cool and, man, look at my cool resume, it looks awesome. Well, the computer doesn't think it looks awesome. The computer just wants to see text. So it took me like 6 months to figure that out. And then once you get your resume dialed in, then it takes, let's say the job opening is it'll say something like May 1st to July 1st, they're taking applications. Applications close July 1st. Boom. All right. Now from July 1st, it takes about a month or two before you get some kind of notification, if you get one at all. Generally, they send you something that says you're not qualified or you are qualified. If you're not qualified, then you're not qualified because of your resume. That's the only thing you have to go off of. So if they say you are qualified, it'll say, hey, you're qualified for this position at this rank. You're getting sent on to a hiring manager. And that's like, cool. And then it takes another 2 to 3 months or something before somebody even calls you about it, if you even get a call. So that's the fun of USA Jobs. So again, it doesn't hurt to submit your USA Jobs stuff 2 years out from retirement, 1 year out from retirement, whatever. You still have a security clearance if you have it. You can use it to your advantage. There's a lot of different jobs you can pick up in just normal civilian federal government. And but again, you have to figure out with that. So start super early and get your resume up there and start applying and see what happens. You might get a sweet job offer right out of the gates, or do SkillBridge and then go straight in that way. Because I know a lot of guys that went straight into government positions based on their SkillBridge. So another thing I learned in this process is it doesn't matter how many times you leave a job or start a new job or whatever, especially if it's within the first like 2 or 3 years after you get out. You have a lot of leeway to figure out what you want to do. Like I said, it took me a good 3 years to pivot 3 times. And then there was some side quests, like I said, but 3 main times. You have to take those quests and you have to see what's going on and see what's down that road sometimes, because it does sound good. And then you get there and it's like, well, that was a complete waste of time. But now you learned something, and now you can apply that to your next, pathway, whichever pathway you go on. It doesn't matter how many times you quit a job when you get out. That's easily explainable. Hey, I just got out of the military for X amount of years. This is why I left this job early, or this is why it wasn't a good fit. It wasn't a good fit. And most people could care less. And anyways, especially if you have a career field like IT or sales, right? Those guys move from job to job like 6 months to a year. They're already moving to the next position that they want to be at. So just keep that in mind. Don't think like you have to never quit or whatever and stick out a job that you absolutely hate and you can't stand going to work every day, or you have super anxiety, just opening up your laptop. Just quit. Just leave it. Your time is not worth it. So yeah, it's counterproductive because everything that you've been taught in the military is to never quit. But hey, man, this is now your life. and you're spending a lot of time at work. And if it's not good for you, that means your family's going to suffer because you're suffering. So just think about that when you're doing your never quit attitude. Just think about that. Think about your family first, and then and your mental health, right? So that's what I'll say about that is don't worry about how many times you quit. Don't worry about sticking out a job if you don't like it. Just move on. Okay, so the next tip I have is networking is a big deal. And don't overcomplicate it because people will overcomplicate the heck out of networking. At the end of the day, networking is just making friends or finding pathways to where you want to go through people, right? That's all it is. So let's say you want to get into sales, you hop on LinkedIn, you look up sales, folks in sales, and I want to work in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so I look up salespeople in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, I see there's a ton of salespeople. There's medical sales, there's IT sales, there's auto sales, there's all kinds of sales, right? So then you have to figure out what you want to do. Hopefully you paid attention in your class and you figured out you want to do IT sales. So you look up IT sales. Well, then you look at all the different companies you could work for. You're like, man, there's so many options. I don't know where to start. You got to start talking to people. So you reach out on LinkedIn. This is the easiest thing in the world. You have leverage because you are in the military. So you reach out on LinkedIn and you say, hey man, nice to meet you. I'm getting ready to transition out of the military after X amount of years and I'm looking at getting into IT sales. I was wondering if you had 20 minutes for me to pick your brain to see what it's like for you, to understand your family dynamic and understand your work hours. Real short and sweet. That's it. Send it to everybody because some people won't answer. Some people never check their emails. A lot of people don't. So just send it to as many people as you can. And when you get on the phone with those people, ask them like, hey, is there anybody else you think I should talk to? Because when you're talking to these folks, you're going to find things that you like and things that you don't like. The things you like, you want to continue pulling those threads because it's leading you down that path. So you find, hey, like, we're talking about IT sales. I like this aspect of IT sales. I like, high commission and no base salary, which probably would never do. But anyways, high commission, no base salary. Do you have any friends that are in sales for IT that do no base salary and high commission? And they'll be like, yes. Can you link me up with them? That's it. That's networking in a nutshell. So if you identify where you want to go, identify the field that you want to work in, understand every field in the civilian world is just like the military. You could be in a mechanized unit. What does that mean? Are you a tanker? Are you a mechanic? Are you a medic? Are you infantry? You don't know. So it's the same in the civilian world. If you go into sales, understand there's a billion different things that you can get into in sales. And then same thing with like HR even. HR has like 7 branches, which I never knew about until that was one of my side quests was HR because I was a first sergeant, so I thought it would be cool. Networking is a big deal. Get on LinkedIn, get your free LinkedIn, you get a free year of LinkedIn Professional, LinkedIn Pro or whatever. It might be a better idea to wait until you get out of the military to activate the free 1 year. But if you don't want to pay $40 a month, because that's how much it is, then activate the free thing and start networking your butt off. That's like your job. Your job is finding a job, and that involves a lot of networking. Get on LinkedIn, start networking, and get after it. All right, so the next tip I have is regarding where you send your resume. All right, so everybody's heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that is always going to be a thing. Yeah, it's nepotism bad, whatever. If you want a job, if you want to support your family, then you need to leverage that because that's how the world works. So you fill out your resume, you kind of know what you want to do. You have an idea. You're talking to people. You're networking. Hey man, can I shoot you my resume? They might give you some pointers, or whatever. And then hopefully they refer you because most places give a referral bonus. But at the end of the day, you have an easier chance getting your resume through the door through one of those connections. Because think about how many layoffs there have been just in the last year. There's been thousands of layoffs in government contracting. There's been thousands of layoffs in IT. There's been thousands of layoffs in sales, layoffs everywhere. And all these people have experience over you. You're coming out of the military. You have military experience. you do not have civilian experience. So if you're putting your resume up against these people, like I wanted to go into IT, I'm fighting for a help desk job, right? And I'm putting my application in with 1,000 other people that just got fired from Google that have 6 to 10 years of experience pulling wires and doing help desk or whatever. You're not going to get in there. So you need to have a homie on the inside. You need to have a referral. A company referral skips the line. The side door is the best way to get into an industry that you want to get into. And that revolves heavily around your networking. And when you start talking to people, it's going to be weird at first, right? But once you start getting in there, you'll see, man, people look out for you. They actually do. If you show genuinely you care about what that person's daily life is, they're going to be willing to put their neck out for you. At the end of the day, and they're going to be willing to put the neck out for you for $500 extra on their paycheck because everybody's struggling out here, right? So just keep that in mind. You got to do networking heavily. Throw your resume everywhere you want, but understand that it's not going to go as many places as it will when you go through the side door. All of the jobs that took me seriously, all the hiring managers that took me seriously were from referrals. So just keep that in mind. All right, so the last thing I'll just say is your job when you get out is to find a job. And you have to take it seriously like you did your military service. You have to spend a lot of time on research, really understanding what you want to do, where do you want to live, what's good for your family, what kind of salary do you like, talking to hundreds of people, hundreds. I talked to a lot of people. I wish I would have kept an Excel spreadsheet. Some people do that. They keep an Excel spreadsheet. I recommend you do that just because you can keep track of who you're talking to, and you know, you kind of just, you can touch base with them from time to time. You never know when there's a chance to help somebody else out. You know, anytime you do that, they're willing to help you out. Have those things in mind so that way when you get out, you can go into a position that closely matches what you want to do, right? And at the end of the day, it might change. I thought sales was going to be the thing. I got there, it sucked, right? Just know that that's a thing and know that that's coming. Um, know that it's a game and it's a maze, and you're going to go down a lot of tunnels and you're going to hit walls and you're going to bounce back and you're going to go down a different tunnel and hit another wall. Just know that that's coming. That's all. You know, because I thought I had it all figured out, and everyone said transition's hard, and I didn't understand why. And I got out there, and man, that's been rough. So yeah, just know that it's coming. That's the whole point of my channel, is just to kind of help you guys out, give you some of the struggles that I went through. That way, hopefully, you don't have to go through the same stuff that I did, or you can minimize it. Just knowing that it was coming. Like if I would have known that it was going to be this ridiculous, then I would have had a lot better prep. I would have been able to, you know, line some things up a lot better than what I had been. So just keep it in mind. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys got something out of it. You know, leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more. I'm going to keep coming out with videos. I like doing this. This is a lot of fun, and hopefully I'm helping you guys out. So have a good one. Enjoy your day.